An interesting thing happened to me the other day. Um, I turned 57 just a few weeks ago, and I started thinking back to my career, my life, and asked myself, where would I be if I made different decisions and so forth? And I thought about, all the childhood dreams that we had growing up. And for many of us, our dreams were put to the side as we became an adult, and we didn't get a chance to realize those childhood dreams and achieve the things that we want to achieve in life. And the other day, I was reading through the comments on some of the videos, and what I found was there was a lot of people that had all these dreams growing up in the 80s, and they had to give them up due to obligations to the family, maybe a sense of duty, maybe certain circumstances happened in their life that didn't allow them to pursue their dream. And they end up working in maybe less than ideal careers. Maybe it wasn't the first career choice. Or maybe some of you had worked in careers that you really enjoyed. And that's great. But for a lot of us, including myself, I had to give up some dreams as a kid as well. And for my parents, they were against the ideas that I had grown up, and as a Gen X growing up, for me, I was never taught to question my parents, and they just told me to work hard, put my head down, go to school, get good grades, and everything will be just fine and dandy when you become an adult. And I believe that. And it certainly didn't turn out that way at the beginning when I started my career. And, what I want to do all these things. I want to travel when I was in my late teens, just like my friends did, who traveled to Australia, spent time over there for about a year, just going from hostel to hostel and just experiencing the whole thing. And that's probably one of the biggest regrets I have, is that I didn't put my foot down and say I was going to go. Because traveling, as you know, is a lot more different when you are when you're an adult, in your 50s compared to when you're a young free spirit at 20 and just exploring the world with your friends. So those were probably one of the regrets I had. But as a kid, maybe you want to become an actor. Maybe you want to do something creative, but were dissuaded because it wasn't practical. It wasn't seen as a feasible career. So many of us ended up in jobs that wasn't our first choice, because it was a steady paycheck, and that's what mom and dad wanted us to do, because it was the safe option, as they would say. As a result, a lot of our dreams got shelved and just forgotten about as we entered the working world. For me, I always dreamed of becoming involved with some kind of physical activity. I love sports, and I love martial arts. And I remember my parents, they wanted me to become a doctor, lawyer, some kind of high-paying profession with a salary, because we weren't in a good financial situation, so they didn't want to see me suffer the same as they had to go through. And so I remember when I was a young man or a young teen, right? I was very good in track and field. I had broken some records in my divisions, and there was talk that I was going to get a scholarship, or a part scholarship to a university or college. And I was so excited because my coach told me, yeah, there's a chance that you can go. And I remember the kids that were a few years older than me, they ended up getting scholarships, and they never had the success that I had on the track at the time. And so I was very excited because I watched a lot of movies, and you see all these movies of kids going home to tell their parents, I made it into, a prestigious college, and the whole family is cheering and so forth, and patting them on the back. So I thought that was going to be the same thing for me. So when I went home that day, I was walking, I remember walking up the steps, and I was just ready to tell my mom. I was so excited. Hey, so I came to the door, and I said, hey mom, coach told me that I might be getting a scholarship, maybe at a school outside of the city or province. And she turned around, and the reaction I got was totally floored me. It wasn't expected. She started screaming at me, and she said, "You know what? You're not going to go, and you can't even get good grades. So who do you think you are? You're not going to any college out of town. You're going to stay here." And I said, "Well, why?" She goes, "Because I said so." And that was the end of the story. There was no negotiation. I was devastated because I was thinking to myself, what the hell did I do wrong, to deserve this? And normally that kind of treatment is reserved for if you've done something really bad. But I thought it was a good thing. So I was very confused, and I realized later on, my mom, there was her own fear because. Chinese families, the culture, you're not to leave home until you get married. And part of her fear was growing old and not having the kids around to help her, and also to facing loneliness, right, as she got older. So I can understand that feeling now that I'm nearing retirement age. But I just thought it was, I would have approached it a different way, because I don't think I would have put that onus on my kids. But yeah, it was so it really devastated me. And I know that even throughout my childhood, my parents were very controlling. When I got to university, it was no, you're going to become a doctor, a lawyer, or some kind of profession, but you're not going to go into these other professions that are so-called lower pay, lower status. And I wanted to go to phys ed or something like that. And they said, no, that was not an option. So I ended up choosing accounting, which I absolutely hated, and finished school because I thought when I finished school, that's it. I can do what I want, and they'll leave me alone. Well, that day came, and I told them that I wanted to move away and start a new life somewhere else. And they said, no, you're not going to do that. And I said, well, how come? They said, because I told you that you're not allowed. And I said, I'm going. And there's nothing going to do to stop me. So I bought a plane ticket, and they were very upset. But I remember the day I left and I walked through those gates at the airport, I felt this weight lift off my shoulders. Decades of frustration and being to chart my own course. So when I moved out away into a big city, I had to start all over again, had to navigate everything and learn all these things because there wasn't exactly a roadmap for me when I left home on what to do after you graduate, and other than just get a job and put your head down and work hard. Well, I did that, and things weren't really working out, at least not from a financial standpoint, but I was very happy. So I struggled financially just to find my way, and working in a corporate job that I absolutely dreaded. And luckily for me, I put all those fears aside, because even though I was away from home, there was still that thing from my parents inside my head that you cannot do this, you cannot do this. This is not the way to go, to think about your dreams. You put aside your dreams for practicality. And I decided, you know what, forget it. I'm going to do it my way, and I'm not going to listen, and I'm going to do what I want to do in life, because I don't want to be miserable anymore. And at 35, I left my corporate job and started my own business in the martial arts field. And I've been in that ever since 2005, and I never had one regret. So I think when we look back now, and I read a lot of the comments, and some of them very heartfelt. that we have to remember that that we're at that time now in our lives where we're thinking about retirement, and maybe we didn't get a chance to fulfill that dream that what we wanted to do in life. But here's is the thing: is once you head towards retirement, this is an opportunity for you to reinvent yourself and to explore things that you didn't get a chance to do. So maybe you're not going to get paid the money that you got paid at your regular job, but you can always get a part-time job in doing something that you loved. I mean, I I have one gentleman that commented the other day, and he started a YouTube channel where he sings songs from the 80s. And I checked his material out. He's got a great voice, and I thought that was fantastic. So I said, why don't you, start a band and play in pubs on the weekends? And he said, well, you know what? He really wants to help the younger generation get into the music industry and stuff like that. And I thought, well, what a great thing to do, right? Because now he's sharing his wisdom and helping the young generation avoid the mistakes that he made. So it's he's building a legacy for himself, and I think that's a wonderful thing. So you can volunteer, you can work part time, you can engage in hobbies that you didn't get a chance to do when you were younger. So there's plenty of options that you could do, and I think getting older doesn't mean that we have to waste away and it's the end. I think there's some great positives that you can take from all this, right? For me, I've had a wonderful career as a martial artist, and you know what, I want to do other things as well. I mean, I'm going to travel more, as I said I was going to do, and I start doing setting up other activities that I resonate. Who knows? I mean, I love the sun. I love being outdoors. So maybe I might get a job, learning how to surf and teach surfing to tourists. I mean, I think that would be pretty cool as well, to spend, a lot of my time out in the ocean and helping people and having fun. So, open up your mind, because I think that these things will bring you so much happiness and joy in your retirement. So hopefully that resonates with you, and feel free to comment below. I want to hear from all of you. Did you have dreams that went unfulfilled as an adult? And if you have, then what are you going to do to try to fulfill those dreams? Are you going to try to fulfill them in your retirement years? And if you had some dreams and you fulfilled them, please share. Please share. I'd love to hear from you and what it's done for your life. And if you like my videos and content, please feel free to like, share, or subscribe. And today I changed my jacket. One of the commenters said, you should change the color your hoodie, because you wear that blue hoodie all the time, and I thought it was the same video. So I love watching your content, so I don't want to miss it or skip it. So there you go. All right, and thank you for the suggestion. I love my blue hoodie, right? But it's okay. I mean, I guess when you get a little bit older, you don't care so much about what you look like. But I don't want you to miss the videos, so I changed it up, and that's a great suggestion. And thank you very much. And I look forward to chatting with all of you next time. And take care for now. And check out my next video. All right. Bye.